Havelok the Dane, also known as Havelock, The Lay of Havelok the Dane, is a Middle English romance considered to be part of the Matter of England, despite its borrowing of the Arthurian tradition from the Matter of Britain. The story, however, is also known in two earlier Anglo-Norman versions. Most scholars place Havelok the Dane at the end of the 13th century, between 1280 and 1290. The name Havelock also has many variations in spelling, and can be found as Havelock or Havelock. Overview. The story of Havelock is first attested in lines 37 to 818 of Geoffrey Gaymar's Anglo-Norman Histoire des Anglais of about 1135 to 40. This was the basis for another Anglo-Norman poem, the Lied d'Havelock, which in turn may have influenced Havelok the Dane. Havelock is the second oldest surviving romance written in English, after King Horn. It is believed to have been composed somewhere between 1280 to 1310. The romance survives in one imperfect version, as well as some fragments. A copy of the 3001-line poem is available to view in Grimsby Public Library. A new publication of the late 19th century translation by Walter Skeet is available as The Lay of Havelok the Dane. Havelock is often categorized as belonging to the so-called Matter of England, because it deals with legends of English history rather than the legends of Rome, France and Britain, the three traditional subjects of medieval romance. The poem is notable for its interest in law and legal practice and its exploration of ideal kingship, as well as for its detailed depiction of working-class life in 13th-century Lincolnshire. It has been called a bourgeois romance because of the high value placed on hard work, virtuous behavior, and proverbial wisdom. There is evidence that the legend of Havelock was a popular one, as the town of Grimsby, which features in the story, depicted three of its characters, Havelock, Goldobore, and Grim, on its town seal in the early 13th century. The story unites the local interest of the founding of Grimsby in Lincolnshire to an interest in the complex national identity of England in the Middle Ages, bringing together Anglo-Saxon, Norman, Danish and British influences. Even today, the town seal of Grimsby still names Grim, Havelock, and Goldborough. It is possible to visit the Grim Stone and the Havelock Stone at Grimsby and Lincoln, respectively. A statue of Grim and Havelock stood outside the main site of Grimsby Institute of Further and Higher Education from 1973 until 2006, but was removed on health and safety grounds after Havelock was decapitated by vandals. The character Havelock may be based upon the historical Amlab Gwaren, a 10th-century Norse Gaelic ruler, and the legend's plot loosely based upon Amlab's life, though there is no critical consensus. Skeet posited a possible link to early legends of Hamlet. Plot summary of the Middle English romance. Havelock is intricately constructed, consisting of a double arc in which the royal heirs of both Denmark and England are unjustly displaced as children but later restored to their rightful positions. The poem opens in England during the reign of Athelwold, who is described in ideal terms as a just and virtuous king. He dies without an adult successor and leaves his young daughter Goldborough to the care of Godric, Earl of Cornwall, who is to rule as regent until Goldborough can be married. Athelwold stipulates that she should be married to the highest man in England. After Athelwold's death, Godric immediately betrays his oath and imprisons Goldborough in a remote tower in Dover. The poem then shifts to Denmark, where a similarly virtuous king, Birkebein, dies, leaving behind two daughters, Swanborough and Helvold, and a son. Havelock. Godard, a wealthy retainer, is appointed regent. Godard too betrays his trust. He brutally murders the daughters by cutting the throats and hands the 3-year-old Havelock over to a thrall, the fisherman Grim, to be drowned in the sea. Grimm recognizes Havelock as the rightful heir to the kingdom when he sees a pair of miraculous signs: a bright light that emerges from the boy's mouth when he is sleeping, and the kinnemark, a cross-shaped birthmark on his shoulder. Grimm is persuaded to spare Havelock's life, but tells Goddard that he has killed the child. Grimm flees with Havelock and his family to England, where he founds the town of Grimsby at the estuary of the Humber. Havelock is brought up as part of Grimm's family and works as a fisherman alongside Grimm and his sons. Havelock grows to an extraordinary size and strength, and has a huge appetite during a time of famine. Grimm is unable to feed him, and Havelock leaves home to seek his subsistence in Lincoln, barefoot and clad in a cloak made from an old sail. In Lincoln he is taken in by Bertram, a cook in a noble household, and works for him as a kitchen boy. Havelock's humility, gentleness and cheerful nature make him universally popular, especially with children, and his unusual height, strength and beauty draw attention wherever he goes. During a festival, Havelock takes part in a stone-throwing competition and far surpasses the efforts of the other young men with his near-superhuman strength. This victory makes him the subject of discussion and brings him to the notice of Godric, who is present in Lincoln for a parliament. Godric notices Havelock's unusual height and decides to arrange a marriage between him and Goldborough. This will fulfill the literal terms of his promise to Athelwold that Goldborough should marry the highest man in the kingdom. Believing Havelock to be a peasant's son, he intends to deprive Goldborough of her inheritance by the marriage. Havelock is reluctant to marry because he is too poor to support a wife, but he submits to the union after being threatened by Godric. Havelock and Goldborough marry and return to Grimsby, where they are taken in by Grimm's children. At night Goldborough is awakened by a bright light and sees the flame coming out of Havelock's mouth. She then notices his birthmark, and an angel voice tells her of Havelock's royal lineage and his destiny as King of Denmark in England. At the same time, Havelock has a dream in which he embraces the land and people of Denmark in his arms and presents the kingdom at Goldborough's feet. When he wakes, they share the visions and agree to return to Denmark. Havelock sails to Denmark with Goldborough and Grimm's three eldest sons in order to reclaim his kingdom. Disguised as a merchant, Havelock is sheltered by Ub, a Danish nobleman. Ub is impressed by Havelock's strength in an attack on the house, and at night notices the light coming out of Havelock's mouth. He recognizes Havelock as the son of Birkebein and immediately pledges his support to Havelock in overthrowing Goddard. When Havelock has received the submission of many of the Danish lords amid great rejoicing, he defeats Goddard and the usurper is condemned to be flayed and hanged. Havelock invades England, overthrows Godric in battle and claims the throne in Goldborough's name. As King of Denmark and England, Havelock rules justly for more than 60 years. He and Goldborough enjoy a happy, loving marriage, and have 15 children. All the sons become kings and all the daughters queens. Plot summary according to Gaimar. This plot summary is based on the translation of Hardy and Martin. King Adalbert is a Dane ruling Norfolk under Constantine, King Arthur's nephew, along with a part of Denmark. King Edelsie is a Briton and King of Lincoln and Lindsey. His sister Orwain marries Adalbert, and the child is Argentil. Orwain and Adalbert die at much the same time. When Adalbert dies, Edelsie marries his niece to a serving lad called Ker Erin in order to clear the way for taking over Adalbert's kingdom himself. Ker Erin is handsome, magnanimous, and the freemen and nobles of the household would have given him anything he wanted if only he weren't so humble that he asks for nothing, in something of a blind motif which does, however, serve to suggest Cucherain's boorishness. It takes a few nights for Ker Erin to get round to having sex with Argentil. Argentil has a prophetic dream. Argentil awakes to find Ker-Eren sleeping on his back, with a flame burning at his mouth. She wakes Ker-Eren and he explains the dream as a prophecy of the feast he will be cooking the next day, and adds that he doesn't know why a flame burns at his mouth when he sleeps. Argentil decides she would rather live with Q-Heron's family than in shame with her uncle. Ker-Eren believes he has two brothers and a sister, Havelock, and that they are all the sons of a fisherman and salt seller called Grim and his wife Brug. Havelock and her husband Alger, a fisherman and a merchant, resolve to tell Ker-Eren that he is actually called Havelock and is the son of King Gunther of Denmark and Queen Alviv, daughter of King Gafer. Havelock and her brothers are in fact the children of Alviv by one of her retainers, Grim. Gunther was killed by King Arthur. Alviv fled with Grim, the children, and Havelock Ker-Eren, but was herself killed by pirates on the way. Havelock's husband trades with Denmark and reckons that the people would be happy if Havelock came to claim his inheritance. Havelock and Argentil sail to Denmark with the merchants. Denmark is ruled by the evil King Odulf, brother of King Ashies, one of Arthur's knights. On arrival, Havelock is attacked and Argentil seized. Havelock defeats the attackers and rescues Argentil, but the two are forced to flee to a church tower where they defend themselves. Fortunately, Sigurd Stalre, Gunther's one-time steward, sees Havelock's resemblance to Gunther and rescues him from his predicament. Sigurd hears Havelock's story and checks its veracity, first by looking for the flame when he sleeps, and then by getting Havelock to sound a horn which only the rightful heir of Denmark can sound, whereupon everyone takes Havelock as the lord. Havelock defeats Edulf in battle and then Edelsie, having used the tactic taught to him by Argentil of propping up the corpses of his army to make it look like he has more men. Edelsie dies a few days later, allowing Havelock and Argentil to inherit both Edelsie's and Adalbert's old lands. Havelock rules for 20 years.